The coarsening of our modern society and culture ought to be utmost in the minds of citizens concerned about the continuing erosion of our principles, our values, and indeed all that is deemed tasteful in a civilized mode of living. The very ideals which we as an enlightened culture hold dear are the ones which separate us from the more common and vulgar who dwell amongst us in society at large. Socially and morally questionable and, in many instances, even objectionable content made readily and commercially available to the public is finding its way into the most hallowed bastions of our orderly world. Is there a way to combat the loutish sort of behavior that certainly any valued citizen must find to be aberrant and unacceptable? I sincerely believe that education is the key, for it is there that the careful construction or reckless abandonment of the basic character of the more common people begins. One can easily see this reflected in everyday literature and advertising. Once was the time when, to be even so much as a typesetter, one was expected to know the rules governing such things as proper spelling, grammar, and syntax in order to convey any printed communication to the masses. Now, however, the printed medium resounds with error. All sorts of mistakes and flubs encompassing everything from missing letters and suffixes to the misuse of punctuation and, heaven knows, all manner of malapropism. For example, from my own experience, I do recall an incident which occurred last Saturday. I was approaching the gold and silver filigreed gates that open onto the Horseshoe Drive, which takes you to the grand entrance to my manor, when suddenly my driver alerted me to the fact that the sign, which I'd commissioned earlier to be placed upon the gates until after the new lacquer had sufficient chance to dry, was still attached. But even this was not the horror that one might think. The very composition of it was ghastly. The lettering was uniform neither in size nor style. It was a glaring hodgepodge of upper and lowercase letters that made it appear as if the artist could not make up his mind. I remember thinking, oh, this is so fucked up. I thought I was at least reasonably certain that I'd hired a proper English gentleman to execute the task of a simple fucking sign, but apparently I'd commissioned a simple fucking pub-crawling, sud-swallowing, East-End common bloody imbecile to carry out the assignment. Can you imagine the temerity, the sheer audacity it took to render such a thing? Oh, but that wasn't all, oh no. As if that wasn't bad enough, I saw to my consternation that the sign said, "Keep gate closed until dry," not "keep gate closed." Where in God's name was the fucking suffix? I ask you, would it have cost us all a fucking overtime to put a fucking ED at the bloody end of the fucking word? Yes, I think that's what it was. The half-witted bloke just couldn't put the bleeding ED at the end of the fucking word. That's why it's the end of the fucking world, if you ask me. Can't get a bleeding £1/4 an hour goon-white, pint-swilling, drunken idiot wanker to do a simple bloody sign without fucking it all the kingdom come and chasing me to fuck off, you know what I mean? Naturally, this is but one example, but I'm hopeful that with early attention to proper breeding and education, perhaps future generations of the more elite among us in society will define the character of their class by the quality of their example. Thank you.